This is brought to you by Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self and Burn Up Coaching, the 21-day challenge. If you're an entrepreneur or a high achiever and you're feeling stuck, you're feeling lost, you're feeling like you just don't know what those next steps are, or maybe you do, but you're not doing them, you're procrastinating, you're not hitting those marks that you know you're capable of, you're not at the highest potential that you know you're capable of, then send me a message. I'll tell you about the 21-day challenge. It's a 21-day program where we get one-on-one accountability, dialing in your performance to succeed like never before. You'll get clear on your long-term goals. You'll dial in your daily habits and routines and lots of other amazing things to empower you to be your GPS. So send me a message on Facebook or Instagram or chris@beyourgps.com and let me know you're interested in the 21-day challenge. Next up is the iTunes review of the week, and this week it's by Gina Pino. And Gina says, totally inspired, feeling so empowered anytime and every time I listen to this podcast. Binge listening all weekend. Thanks, Chris, for sharing your brilliance. Your genuine caring and enthusiasm is infectious and lifts me up each and every episode. You and Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self is a gift. Thanks so much, Gina. I appreciate you. And if you're listening right now and you want to give us a review, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self to give us a review on the iTunes store, or do it on Facebook as well. That helps and benefits us. And thanks so much in advance for doing that, letting us know your honest review, honest feedback, what you love, what you feel could be improved. We're always committed to our growth. Thanks so much in advance for doing that. Now, again, Rachel's about to come on in just a minute here, and make sure you grab your pen, grab a paper, be ready to take notes, because this wisdom that she's sharing, what she has overcome, and the principles that she's going to share is going to make the difference for you if you're ready, if you're open. And remember, life can transform in an instant. So be ready for that golden nugget. Be ready for that one thing that makes all the difference for you in where you're at, okay? Because Rachel's going to bring the freaking heat. Let's introduce her, and then we'll bring her on. Rachel Gibler is a mindset blogger committed to helping you get to your highest potential by reframing negative experiences, crushing limiting beliefs, and rewriting the story you tell yourself. After losing her father at age 16, Rachel entered a downward spiral that took her through college, an abusive relationship, and hating her life in corporate America. Now, an entrepreneur, she is focused on helping women become their best selves by learning how to embrace fears and take action head on. Through her Instagram blog, she teaches you how to utilize your thoughts to your advantage in any circumstance to create the results that you want and make your dream life a reality. She keeps it real and transparent while giving you the exact steps she took to uplevel her life so you can do the same. And she's here with us today. Rachel, you ready to rock this?
I am so excited to be here, Chris. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm pumped. I'm pumped to do this with you.
Yes, I love it. I'm pumped too, Rachel. We're gonna have a blast. Your energy is fiery and spicy, and I love these conversations that are like that. So let's dive right into the theme of the day, which is fight, love, or both. So in the context of, like, do you fight? Do you focus on fighting and fighting for what you want and what you need, your vision, or do you love your way there, or do you do both? Like, how would you say you show up in life? How would you say that this conversation makes a difference for you and shows up in your life?
Totally. I think there's two sides to that, because I used to be only fighting my way there, right? And it was almost like this constant uphill battle that was really, really hard. And I had a lot of cognitive dissonance, kind of hating myself and hating my way to try to get to where I wanted to go, and it wasn't working. So, to answer that, I think just having compassion for yourself and coming from a place of love in whatever it is that you do doesn't mean that you don't fight for it and that you don't work hard, but you are able to love yourself through the process of getting to become who you want to be, if that makes sense. So I think that you can have both sides to this, but I think if you're just going to be fighting your way there and kind of hating your way there, it always depends on the place that it comes from. And that, first comes from recognizing our thoughts and recognizing what we're thinking, what are the patterns that we're seeing, and noticing how we're speaking to ourselves and how we're trying to get to our goal. And then realizing how we want to change that and I think you get so much more done and you get so much closer to your goal when you do come from this loving and compassionate place for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I love it. I love it, Rachel. I agree. And I think we all have to go through that phase of fighting, right? We feel like we have to fight our way to survival and
Right.
just like, whatever our goal is. And then we learn, oh, wait, I can get my beliefs in alignment. I can make this easy. I can make this fun. I can shift my perspective on it to create a different reality and a completely different experience for it.
Totally. And I mean, and that's the whole point, right? Is to enjoy the journey on the way. Because I
Yeah.
think everybody gets so caught up in this destination of when I'm successful and when I'm happy. And you have to be that now,
Yeah.
in order to be able to get there.
Yeah.
And that always left me with the question, well, how do I do that? I would
Mm.
hear people say that, but it's like, well, if I don't feel good about myself and I don't feel good about the place I'm in, how can I just love myself there? And I always kind of like turned a blind, kind of turned a blind eye to that and said, "Oh, that's not for me." Until I really realized my back was against the wall and I didn't love anything. And I was like, "Well, you know what? I better start listening to this because nothing else
Mm.
is working." So,
Dang. Dang. Well, I'm sure we're going to get into that back against the wall moment as well.
yeah,
And I want to go back into your journey in a second. But so I shared a little bit about you in your intro, but for anyone who's just connecting, tell us a little bit more about what you stand for and what your clients come to you for.
yeah, absolutely. So, right now, I've just started a blog and basically talking all about mindset. And really, what I talk about is this principle that our circumstances don't create our reality, our thoughts
Mm.
about our circumstances do.
Yeah.
And that was a huge distinction for me. And I just want people to changing their thoughts about their circumstances.
Mm.
So that's the main thing that I talk about on my blog. I just talk about becoming aware of your thoughts,
Okay.
and in order to grow and just if you aren't aware of what you are thinking, then how
Hmm.
can you change it, right?
Right.
So really just becoming aware of our current state, becoming aware of where we want to go, and then acting in alignment with that.
Yeah.
So that's really what I like to focus on, just kind of rewriting that story that you tell yourself
Mhm.
and realizing that everything is happening for us, not to us.
Mm.
And I think that that was a really big distinction for me. And just kind of accepting that life is 50-50, and whatever happens to us, we can go through pain and we can even carry pain, but we don't have to suffer. And so that's
Mm.
what I really want everybody else to kind of realize. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do with that now.
Yeah. Amen. Amen, Rachel. Well, I love that. Agree with everything you said. And I want to go back in your journey now and talk about like what were those challenges and obstacles that you had to overcome. I mentioned that your dad passed away at an early age. Is that really where you would say your story begins, or is it before that? Tell us about your journey.
Totally. So I had a wonderful childhood. I'm an only child. Had both my parents. They were so in love. And even had my grandmother live with us. So I kind of had three parents growing up, and really just had such an amazing childhood. But as I grew up, the story kind of starts when I was 16. It was about halfway through my junior year of high school, and my dad, I woke up one day over Christmas break and no one was home,
Mm.
and he had been in an accident. He raced road bikes, and he had fallen. And so
Mm.
my mom called me and said, come to the hospital. And it was the most excruciating thing that I've ever had to deal with in my life. And up until this point, life had been pretty good to me. Just your normal elementary, middle school problems, right? But
Right.
everything had been really good. So about 24 hours later, he passed away from a brain injury,
Mm.
and it just completely rocked our world. And that's the beginning of the story. So it starts there, and I really don't remember much about my year after and graduating high school. As pretty much I had PTSD, and I completely forget most of it.
Yeah.
And I went off to college as this kind of like broken 18-year-old. I didn't care about anything. I just thought the world was out to get me.
What going back to that year, like what was your focus? Like what did you want out of life? What was driving you forward? Did you know?
Yeah, it was interesting because right after he passed, I had this real like sense of I'm going to do great and I'm going to make him proud. And,
Yeah.
I, and as a
Yeah.
16-year-old, I had started, trying alcohol and stuff that year. And I was like, I'm not doing any of that anymore. Like, I'm going to be such this good kid and do all these things. I ended up still with straight A's graduating from school. And so I really threw myself into school. But what happened was, after that initial shock and that initial, like, I'm going to do this for him, wore off. And I really realized, oh, he's not coming back. Like, that's when I got angry. And I started, and my school never slipped. That was the one thing that I think really kept me going. Cause I remember there was this, you know, small little inkling in the back of my head saying, like, this isn't going to be all for nothing. And I knew I was going to get through it, but man, there was days, weeks, months where it was just really dark. And so I went off to college, and I was kind of in that angry mentality. My mom got remarried pretty shortly after, so I had a lot of different things that were kind of going on that were hard for me. And my third day into orientation, I met this guy that seemed to have it all together, was very charismatic, very charming, actually reminded me of my dad in a lot of ways in those aspects. So I really gravitated toward him. And we were together for about 3.5 years, and it ended up being an extremely abusive relationship that I couldn't get out of. So I went from having this happen to me to now I understand kind of the psychology behind probably why I did what I did, feeling like I kind of really lost everything. And getting myself like so deep into this hole of like, I didn't even care. I mean, I was drinking nonstop. I was in college, obviously, but I mean, I was binge drinking, wasn't worrying about really anything, and really allowed my self-esteem to plummet from these different things that happened. And finally, I was able to leave that relationship right before college ended, which is, I'm just so thankful that I did, and moved to Houston. I went to college in Miami, and and I moved to Houston. I took my first corporate job, but it's still coming out of all of this. I kind of feel like it was really just all a haze. I had no handle on my mindset or anything. I just knew I want to be successful. I want to make money. I'm going to go in and work hard. I've always been a hard worker. That's one thing that never really slipped throughout this whole journey. Anyway, so I take this sales job. I go in and I'm like, I'm going to work into the ground. I'm going to get the first promotion. It was this extremely competitive environment where they hired a lot of people out of college really, really fast. Everybody's, competing for this one promotion a month. And I come in, I get the first promotion, and I'm like, I'm going to crush it. But I really, really lost myself in that process because I already was kind of a little bit of a mess going into this, and threw myself into work. And I ended up, being in sales, you're drinking a lot and you are going out to eat a lot. And I wasn't able to really handle that. I ended up gaining 20 pounds. I ended up just being in this, really rock bottom where I'm working myself into the ground. I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not going to the gym. I'm not doing anything that excites me, anymore. And I realized, I was having anxiety attacks and panic attacks. I got hospitalized for having a panic attack, and just almost having that be my new normal, like not realizing just how bad it was. And finally, the story changes. About a year ago, it was December 2nd, so a little over a year ago. And I'm at a Christmas party, and I tear my ACL. And I dislocate my kneecap, tear my ACL. And I'm like, oh my gosh, can anything get any worse, right?
Yeah.
And I ended up having to take medical leave for my job. And it was the turning point to the rest of my life, and was the biggest blessing I could have ever been given, because I had been laying in bed with this cast on from my hip to my ankle, not being able to move. I had to move back in with my mom so she could take care of me. And I just remember being so relieved that I didn't have to go to that job. Wow. And I said, this is so backwards and so wrong that I am happy that I had to get surgery, because it meant that I can relax for a second. And I remember saying, this is the moment that changes my life. I'm not going to let this, I'm not going to let this time go to waste. I was given the gift of having 3 months to really figure out what it is I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
And I started by Googling how to get happy, how to make myself happy, how to enjoy your day. And that's when I found self-development, and the rest has been history. So
I love it. I want to dive into the you know, like that moment where you were laying in bed a little bit more. Before that though, we're at the 15-minute mark in the interview, so that's the first GPS game that we're going to play on Facebook. So everyone who's on Facebook, if you want to play this game, go ahead and tag 3 people in a comment and share this video to your feed, and you will get entered into the drawing today to win a free self-help book. Make sure you register as well at beyourgps.com/book contest. So Rachel, let's talk about this moment where you're laying in bed. You were relieved to be able to, you know, not have to go to that job anymore. Right. What did you see was next for you? Like you did you think you were going to go back to sales? Did you think like, okay, this is my opportunity to start newly? Like, what was going through your head?
You know, I don't think I knew at that moment. And I didn't have a clear direction of where I wanted to go, but I knew where I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
And I think that was just that was the biggest motivator. It's like everything in my life right now I'm not happy with. So how can I just feel 1% better? I think, you know, I just realized I want to do good with my story. I want to do good with what's happened to me. And I want to figure out how I can make something negative, like blowing my knee out and getting surgery, or having my father pass at a young age. How can I use these experiences for good? And I saw other people doing this, and I started to just get into this self-development world and just reading about it. And it was a series of little moments. You know, it was that one big moment that hit me, and it was like, I can't let this go to waste. I could sit here and lay here for 3 months and watch Netflix, or I could use this as a huge opportunity. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
It's like ring, 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 opportunity.
I thought I muted you. But yeah, you know, it was that one big moment of realizing, like, I can't let this opportunity go to waste. And it was the smaller moments of
Hey Rachel, real quick, you froze on my screen.
Oh no. How do I get it back?
You like, if you try to minimize your window and open it back up, that might work. Turn off your camera, turn it back on, that also might work. Okay. And you're back. Good. Perfect.
Okay.
Boom.
Sorry.
I love it.
I don't know how to make my calls not come in on my computer.
There's some setting somewhere, you know.
Sorry about that. Anyway, moving on. But yeah, it was having this realization that I can't let that go to waste. And then it was a series of, you know, you don't have that one big revelation and then you're positive from here on out, right? Yeah. It's still, that's when you start to work.
It's growth. It's like, okay, I made the decision. Now I have to back up that decision with daily, you know, rigor and discipline and commitment to the decision that I made. Because like, it's easy to say, hey, I'm this new person and I'm going to live the rest of my life completely different and be my greatest possible self. It's another thing to show through your actions that that's who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. And it takes practice too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where you can't beat yourself up if you fall off the wagon. You just have to. Every day is a new day. You just keep going, and that's what I realized is I had to take my recovery day by day. I had to take everything day by day, and I just slowly started to kind of gain knowledge and language around this new world that I didn't even know existed.
What would you say was the first practice or big shift from personal development that you picked up when you were laying in bed?
Absolutely. And I know I mentioned this before, but it was the principle or the understanding that our circumstances are not what defines our reality. Because I think everybody thinks, oh, this happened to me and this happened to me. And there's this victim mentality. And I had that. I mean, I fully was a victim of my circumstances, and I was really angry. And I think a lot of people carry that weight with them so much about the things that have happened to them. And it was when I realized, oh, wow, you know, I'm not experiencing XYZ anymore.
Right.
it's my thoughts about my circumstance that is causing my current reality. And so when I realized, oh, if I change my thoughts, I change how I experience the world. And that was like mind blowing to me. I always thought, no, I just think these things, right? Like this is just normal. But what we don't realize is we can decide what we think on purpose.
Yeah. So how would you recommend we get aware, first off, of the thoughts that we have, and then how do we replace those negative thoughts? What would you recommend for that?
Totally. So first, I like to call this like the watcher or the observer, right? You kind of almost have to take a third party to your mind. And there's a couple key components to this. So it takes practice of just starting when you're by yourself, what the thoughts that are going through your head on a daily basis, just start to notice them. Try to just start watching your thoughts. And the key here is to not judge what you find. And I think it really helps to understand how the brain works. Because when you understand that we are like wired to look for negative experiences, that's how our brain keeps us alive.
Yeah.
So when we can realize, oh, okay, this is a natural thing that happens to so many of us, most of us, right? We're hardwired to look for the negative. Now you don't have to judge yourself for it. And you don't have to judge how you got here. You just have to figure out how to get to the next step. So I'd say the first thing is just be watching your thoughts. And a way that I do that is by thought downloads. So every day, you can do it morning or in the evening, journal. I started journaling and just writing down my thoughts about the day. And then I started to pick out, okay, where are my positive thoughts? Where are my negative thoughts? How can I maybe think about this circumstance differently? And also thinking, what is it that we want to feel, right? Because the only reason why we do anything in life is because we want to have a certain feeling that comes along with that.
Right.
So, okay, here's my circumstance. Now, what do I want to feel? What do I want to feel on purpose? How can I generate that? But what thought would get me there? Right. So that's what I kind of started to do, and started to kind of look at this model of really, I mean, you can lay your thoughts out there if you're journaling. And so I think that that's the first thing, is becoming aware. And then once you are aware of them, in order to change them, I think that you need to decide what it is that you want and where it is you want to go. You want to decide how you want to feel. Okay, so do that. Okay, I want to feel this. I can't change this circumstance. If you can change it for yourself, awesome. Go and do that and figure out how you can change it. But if you can't change the circumstance, what can you think to make yourself feel better about it? And you don't have to feel 100% better. What can you do in this moment right now to feel 1% better? And I think that compounds. And so that's really how I started. And then, decide what you want and then act like the person that already has it.
Yeah.
So I was really confused about this concept for a long time, until I really got clear on who it is I wanted to be. And how would that person show up? How would they act? What would they say? What would they think? And then you can start trying on those thoughts for yourself right now. Even if you don't believe them, you can start putting that into your subconscious by consciously saying it to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, for me, my big challenge with that of acting as if that I had that thing was I felt like I was acting as if, but my subconscious mind was like, no, BS. Like, you're totally like not that person yet. Stop trying to kid. Who are you kidding, Chris? Come on. So
there's imposter syndrome for you.
Exactly. So what would you recommend to people who might experience something like that?
Yeah, I think that the biggest cure for fear or self-doubt is taking action. So I think a lot of times, we just stay in this confused mindset, like, oh, I don't really know what to do, or, oh, I'm trying to act as if, but there's this part of me that's still kind of back here, not really showing up how I should be. Just have to keep going. Like, don't stop, keep taking action, keep moving forward and moving the needle even 1%. And through that, you're going to gain confidence and you're going to gain momentum. And you'll get there.
Yeah, how I understand it is it's like the more you do it, the more it becomes your reality. So the old self, like the voice, whatever it is, those thoughts, the brain pattern of doubt, of, disbelief, of whatever, like that starts to disappear. It starts to lessen its hold, its power, as you continue to say, I don't care what you say. Like, you're just a voice. You're not real. You're not, I'm the observer, and I'm observing there's thoughts happening, and there's also, I'm observing the creation that I am creating, and it's
Yeah.
like, if you're just aware that, hey, these things are going to go on, but they're not real and I don't have to pay them attention, it doesn't mean that I stop what I'm doing. It doesn't mean that I'm doing it wrong or anything like that. Like, I expect or anticipate that some stuff will come up in the process of doing it, and you just get to trust the process and trust yourself and trust, I'm there. I'm going there. That's all there is to it. No other ifs, ands, or buts.
Oh, totally. I mean, that's such a good point. And it's like, we have our brain tends to do that to us. It wants to keep us safe,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's almost like we have this primitive brain that wants to save us from any harm.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like a little 2-year-old. You gotta like not really listen to it, gotta
Right.
read it back in,
Right.
so yeah, it's just really important to keep going even when you do have those doubts. Know where you're headed and decide that that's and take action to get there. And you gotta just ignore that little voice in your head, and it'll get smaller and smaller as you
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. So that first key nugget of wisdom for you was, hey, like my circumstances are just circumstances. They're not the ultimate reality. I get to choose what I focus on. I get to choose how I view this situation. What would you say were some of your next big discoveries or ahas in your evolution to being where we are today?
Totally. The next one I would say is understanding and accepting
Hmm.
that life is 50-50. So what I mean by that is, I think a lot of our pain as a society comes from expecting to always be happy all the time. And we see it with social media too, right? Like everybody's putting their best foot forward and their best face forward and all of these things. And we're not talking about the hard stuff. We're not realizing that we think we're the only person going through it, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding and accepting that, like, that's the deal. Like, you being here on this earth means you're going to experience a whole range of emotions,
Yeah.
and accepting that. And 50% of the time it's going to be amazing and awesome, and 50% of the time you're not going to love the emotions that you have.
Mm.
But if instead of beating ourselves up for how we feel and trying to avoid negative emotion, we can lean into it when we accept that it's a part of the deal. And so that was another really big thing, was just understanding, like, I just think it adds another layer when, we have something bad happen, we feel bad about it, and then we feel bad about feeling bad. Right. So if we can release that and all of that chatter that goes on within our minds, we actually end up moving through that harder experience much easier and with ease, because we understand that this is just part of it. And so I think accepting that and realizing it was a really big key for me as well.
That's awesome. I want to talk about accepting, and what's the practice of that? What's the exercise of that? We're going to get to that in a second. Now we're at the 30-minute mark, so we're playing our second GPS games, people. So the first person to respond after I put this message in the comments, you get entered into a drawing today to win a free self-help book. Make sure you register, beyourgps.com/book contest. So Rachel, let's talk about this accepting thing, because it's like, I can just say, I accept it. Oh yeah, totally, I accept that. And is that actually accepting and fully embracing and embodying acceptance? No, we both know that. So how do we get to that level of truly accepting and really appreciating that and letting go of any kind of resistance to that?
Yeah. And that's the $1,000,000 question, right? That's something that I struggle with. It's taking it moment by moment. And same as when you're working toward a goal or whatever it is, if you fall a little bit off track, or you find yourself a little bit angry again, or resentful, or whatever the case may be, it's then again being the watcher, noticing, okay, I am having these thoughts again. Now I gotta kind of bring it back to center and realize, okay, no, this is a process, and life is 50-50. These things are going to happen. How can I reframe this to have a different experience of it, or what thoughts do I want to choose about this specific circumstance that are going to serve me? And so I think it's just a process of not judging yourself for it, allowing whatever comes up.
Hmm.
And that was a big thing for me too. It's just like allowing
Mm.
whatever happens to happen, whatever I think to think, right?
Mm.
Allowing it, noticing it, and then we can work on changing it and work on accepting some of those things. Because I think that, I mean, it's a work in progress. We're human, right? So,
Totally.
so we're gonna have those moments, but it's just not judging yourself for them.
How would you like measure whether or not we've truly accepted something?
Gosh, measuring it, I think quantitatively, I don't know, but as far as just like how much like negative energy are you feeling when you, and I think that's different for everybody too, and I think everyone has to know themselves and know what place they were in.
Hmm.
And now like there's certain things, about my father's death, right? I was angry, and that's still a pain I'll always carry with me.
Yeah.
But I feel different internally about it now. I feel more at peace. Not all the time. I
Mm.
have my moments, I have my times where I'm still angry, but overall I feel more peaceful. And I think that that comes from comparing where you were to where you are now, and
Yeah.
not forgetting how far you've come. Because a
Yeah.
lot of times we can be so focused on, oh, I still feel this way, or oh,
Yeah.
I had one of those bad days. But no, like really stop to think how far you have come from that um, initial thing that happened to you. So I think that that's probably how it's different for everyone. But
I, I I love how you said to notice how far you've come, where you used to be and where you are today. And I think, we all have our own measurement or representation of like pain, right? People have different pain thresholds, and like on a scale of 1 to 10 kind of thing. It's amazing how powerful that simple exercise of, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you, and like me and my girlfriend, we do this like every week. We do a weekly review to say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how did the other show up for you this week, and what would it take to get it to a 10, right? So I think we could do something similar with, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much suffering am I still feeling with
right.
this, with 1 being none, I feel like completely blissful, or 10 being like, I want to end my life, and if we can quantitatively, like in our subconscious mind, we're like, hey, what number does it feel like? And when we get that out on paper, it becomes linear. It becomes like, okay, well, what would it take to reduce that? What would I have to do to accept a little bit more? Maybe I meditate and sit with that emotion a little bit and breathe through it, do some breath work with that emotion, or do different types of exercises, reframing, work with you, Rachel. People could work with you to like get that number down, right? They can be a client of yours and have these sessions and conversations where it's like, hey, here's my number that came up over the last week, Rachel, what do you think that could get it down? And you give them strategies and ways that they could sit with it or process it more effectively. Is that something that makes sense or resonates with you?
Oh, completely. And that's so important. You have to check in with yourself. Like
Yeah.
I have alarms on my phone multiple times a day
Mhm.
that, pop up and say, okay, how am I feeling? What am I thinking? What are my
Mm.
thoughts? How am I conducting myself?
Yeah.
And you could do that with anything, right? And when it comes to suffering or pain, same thing, just checking
Yeah.
in these specific moments. Okay, how am I feeling now? Has this improved? If it hasn't improved, what are the things that I could do?
Yeah.
uh, and that's going to be different for everybody for each circumstance, but it always comes down to your thinking and what your thoughts are
Mm.
about it, and just noticing them. So
That's powerful. Powerful. I love it. I love it. So accepting and allowing, that's a really big part for you of the journey, because you had this like trauma to grow through, to be able to show up powerfully, aligned, congruent, and able to give yourself, right? Because if you have this thing in the background of what your the pain, the suffering, or in your subconscious mind, you'd been dealing with it, then that's not going to allow you to show up fully and present and be able to give your best with the people that are around you.
totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
I completely agree. Yeah, it's crazy how fast too it can change once you start to do the work.
Mm.
Really, I started doing this work a year ago, and it has completely transformed my life. And so I think that other people, they see where someone's at and they compare it to their
Mm.
current situation. And it's like, you just got to keep going. You have to, just keep working every single day, and it gets a lot easier.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. So you went through this technique, this exercise of learning how to accept, learning how to really be present with what you went through, and then you said you started a blog. So what was the catalyst to start the blog, and what are you out to achieve with that?
Yeah. So it just came from this wanting to share this knowledge
Mm-hmm.
and get it out into the world, and share with people what I had kind of overcome and how they could apply that to their life. So
Right.
I started this blog a little over 2 months ago, almost 3 months ago now.
Awesome.
And it's been so rewarding. And, I just realized that I have this story and I can either use it for good or I can suffer from it. So
Mm.
I want to not only heal myself, but I want to use my pain to help others heal themselves. And so that's really, I came out and told my story and said, I want to teach you guys what I did, to kind of really get out of that bad place, because I know how awful it feels and how unobtainable it feels to be on that
Mm.
other side. And I just want to be an example of what is possible. So I'm at the really beginning stages of it.
Awesome.
Right now, we're, like I said, about 3 months in, and my goal is to eventually launch a coaching business. Right now, as an entrepreneur, I've got a couple other businesses that are opening. So I want to be building this brand and connecting with people, and just really, I just want to affect. I know everybody says this and it's cliche, but if I can get through to that one person, that means the world to me. And I actually have a little story. So we just came up on 8 years of my dad passing, on January 3rd. And I posted this story, and I got a bunch of DMs and supports and things like that. But this one man, DM'd me and said, I lost my mom a week ago and I don't know what to do. And, I feel like you've really gotten through this. And I just cried, and I DM'd him. I was messaging him back, and I made a whole post about it. And it was just, I realized, like, this is what I want to be doing. Like, if I can help this person. We actually ended up, we're in the same city. We met each other in person now, which is just crazy. But
That's awesome.
Just the connections that you can make with people just by sharing your story, and that's my goal. So
for someone who is like resistant to change, or let's say they want to change, but they aren't actually willing to let go of the suffering, like, how do you know who's actually ready to break through and claim their joy and their fulfillment and their happiness again, versus someone who's like committed to staying stuck in their story? Like, how do you know who's who?
Yeah, for me, I just want to be committed to helping and spreading this message. What anybody does with it is their choice, right? And a lot of this in self-development, you're not going to get through to somebody until they're ready to hear it. But I believe we just keep spreading this message and keep just telling everybody, right, about this wonderful life that they can have if they get a hold of their thoughts and their mindset. Eventually, that's going to get through. And I think it just takes, it's different for everyone, but for a lot of us, I feel like it's that moment of rock bottom when our back is finally against the wall and we say, okay, you know what, like, I'm ready. I don't know if there's a specific distinction for me as far as if someone's ready or not. I think that's a really a personal thing and shows through action. But for me and the people that I speak with and connect with, I don't care. I just want to spread this message and you can apply this to your life how you want to, and take it or leave it. But I really hope you take it.
Yeah. So we talked about acceptance and allowing as a way to release the stuff from the past. And for people who they feel like they're doing everything that they possibly can to get back to a better station in life, or to get to a being their greatest possible self, being happy and fulfilled. They feel like they're doing everything that they can, but they find themselves still self-sabotaging, still unhappy, still stuck. Like, what would we tell them? How can they get through that or break through that?
Yeah, I think that's something that everybody deals with at some point in their lives. And I think that wherever you're feeling stuck, that's where you need to do the work.
Mm,
That's where you need to, there's obviously something there, whether it's in your subconscious or just whatever your thoughts are that are keeping you. So again, it's just becoming really cognizant in that specific area, maybe doing some journaling exercises on it, maybe just really writing everything down is what truly helps me.
yeah.
Or okay, so say if you want to break through to this next level, how would you need to show up to get there? And you cannot say I don't know or be confused as an answer, right? Like
Right.
your intuition knows, and in your gut, I'm willing to bet that if you're feeling stuck in a certain area, your gut probably knows, or somewhere deep down you
Mm,
probably know why. And so you just need to ask yourself, why is that? What actions are I taking, or what's happening? Is there a specific trigger that I have that causes me to take a step back or causes me not to take action?
mm,
So really just becoming aware of what those triggers are and doing work around, okay, now how can I get through them? What a person that I want to be, this person that I want to become, how would they handle this situation? If I
mm,
was a coach coaching myself, what do you think they would tell me to do? It's
mm.
asking yourself better questions, and you're going to be surprised with what answers you come up with.
Yeah. And say a little bit more about those better questions. How do we ask those better questions? How do we know what are the right questions or wrong questions or best questions or not optimal questions?
um, I think it's, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is this currently serving me right now?
Mm,
That's a big one for me. I go through my day, and
mm,
when I decide how I decide to act, or whatever I decide to say, or whatever it is, I ask myself, is this serving me right now? Is this going to serve me in this moment? Or ask yourself, how would my highest possible self show up in this moment? How would my highest possible self think about this situation? So asking yourself those kinds of questions is really what has gotten me forward as far as just evolving and just kind of moving the needles.
mm, mm. You mentioned that you're working on a couple different businesses. Like, how do you see that businesses are going to help you become your greatest possible self and help you spread this message while also doing the blog, and you have your Instagram? Tell us a little bit how that all plays together.
Yeah, absolutely. So the businesses are entirely separate of on this self development. But
Okay.
when I came out of the whole ACL journey and decided to quit my job, I ended up buying 3 franchises, and those are all in the eyelash extension industry. They're all salons,
Hmm.
and I'm just so excited. It doesn't matter what exactly you do, whether you're a coach in self development or you work in corporate America or whatever it is. This can be applied to anything. And it's not about the exact thing that you're doing, the exact job you have. It's about who you become in the process. And
Yeah.
so I'm so excited because I'm going to now be a boss of probably about 30 people, and I'm about having to go through this hiring process. And so I think that's going to be a really big challenge. And there's going to be a lot of mindset and development that I'm going to have to go through, and my own limiting beliefs around managing people and running 3 businesses while also trying to grow a personal brand in this mindset and self-development space, and
Hmm.
connecting with people through this blog. I think just I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to run into yet, but I'm really thankful that I have these tools to go to when I am going to be kind of taking this next step. But I think running 3 businesses and hiring that many people in a very short amount of time is going to be a very big growing and learning
You
experience.
are gonna grow.
I'm so excited.
I love it. I love it. That's so cool. It's like you're totally going to expand your capacity, right? If you have a big challenge, a big goal, a big dream, a big vision, you have to expand to become that person, and that's like identity. You're shifting your identity. I know that's something as well that you talk about. I want to talk a little bit more about identity and how we see ourselves. That conversation. We're at the 45-minute mark, so this is the third GPS game, and we want to hear your biggest takeaway from this interview with Rachel. So go ahead and comment that in the comments, and we'll choose the best one, and you'll get entered into a drawing to win a book for a personal development book. Make sure you register at beyourgps.com/book contest. So Rachel, let's talk about identity. How do we become clear of our identity, aware of our identity, and shift that identity?
Yeah. So I think your identity, or how you perceive yourself, it's the stories that you tell yourself about you, right? So I feel like a lot of us have these negative self-talk, or where we're not confident, or we don't think we can do this or that. And, this person over there seems to have it all, but we could never do that, right? They were just born that way, or whatever it is. And so whenever I talk about, shifting identity, it's the realization that you can be whoever it is that you want to be by showing up as that person. So in my own life and experience, when I had gone through this whole kind of mess that I had been in through college and everything, my identity and what I told myself, I knew deep down in my gut that I'm someone that, I'm a leader, and I will show up. I'm a really hard worker. I can be successful. But the story I was telling myself is, no one's going to believe me. I've just been the girl that's been partying, and I've just been right. So I think we have to recognize, like, what's the story that we're telling ourselves, and then realize everybody else, they are going to treat you and see you as you see you. So the second that you start to shift your actions and start to become more in alignment with where you actually want to go, everybody else, either they're going to get on board or they aren't. You don't have to worry about that. You just have to worry about where it is that you're going. And kind of, again, it's just that negative self-talk that you have to recognize is going to be there, but you have to just start taking actions in alignment with this new you that you want to become. And then you'll start to change your identity. And now I don't, identify with anything I used to tell myself. And it was only from taking new action and showing people, this is the new me. This is who I am meant to be.
Yeah. Well, I love it. And it's like, when you show up and demonstrate those actions, then, other people see you as who you want to be seen as. I also find that we are a reflection of how we think other people see us as well. So it's like, while we get to really work on ourselves and changing our own identity, we also are, like, if we're hanging around people from, let's say, middle school or high school, and they see us as, that partier, the person who would go out and get drunk, or, whatever. Like, I totally, had that challenge with friends who saw me as the person who was like this little kid, and like, wouldn't amount to much, just fit in the box. Chris, like, what are you doing? Coaching, a network marketing company, owning your own business, entrepreneur, what, like, just go use your degree, your electrical engineering degree. And it's like, no, like, this is who I am. And it's the people who will support you and feed that vision are the ones that you want to keep around yourself. And the people who don't, like, sorry, I don't have as much time for those people who are toxic influences on my life, who keep me small, who, put that glass ceiling over me.
Absolutely. And I think that's a hard transition. And I think that everybody in the self-development world kind of goes through that at some point. And everybody does, right? We all grow and change friends and things. And that's one of the biggest things that I've had to go through in this past year is once I changed my mindset, recognizing who was for me and who was not for me, and who was kind of holding me back. And I think that that's big. Just who you're surrounding yourself with and who your circle is really big. And I think just recognizing that you might have some shifts there once you start to shift who you are, because people want to keep us in the identity that they knew us in, and they're not comfortable with you changing, but you just have to do it anyway.
Wow. So powerful. So powerful. I love it. So is there any other, like, big key core philosophy that's made a difference for you on your journey, or that you want to be emphasizing on your blog that you really want people to know?
Yeah. I actually wrote about this today, and it's been a really big shift for me is redefining confidence, because I feel like a lot of times we believe that, oh, that person that seems so confident and has it all together was born that way, or people that are successful, they were just born that way. And I think when we redefine it as confidence is the ability to show up for yourself.
Heck
And
yeah.
doing what you said you were going to do and keep your promises to yourself. And that's how you gain confidence and gain clarity. And, before I really stuck myself in, oh, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. Oh, I'm not confident enough for this or that. And I know that's a story that a lot of us tell ourselves. Well, let's redefine confidence and say, okay, confidence is just the ability to show up. Can you do that? Absolutely. Everyone has the ability to show up. And so, that's how you gain confidence and work toward your goal, is just keep showing up. And that was the biggest kind of mind-blowing thing for me too. It's like, oh, I can create anything I want if I just show up for it, right?
Yeah,
and I show up messy, and I take imperfect action, and I don't worry about everything being perfect and what it looks like, and I just worry about going.
Yeah.
And that was one of the bigger things for me too, is I was terrified to start this blog and put myself out there. Because I originally started on my personal Instagram from everybody who has known me ever in my whole life already followed me. And not only am I trying to do this, but I'm doing it in front of everyone. And so that was really big. And I just realized I wasn't confident, but I've gained that confidence and I've gained momentum. And it's only been from showing up and doing it imperfectly.
Is there anything you'd recommend around not caring what people think?
Yeah, I think that when we understand that what anybody thinks about us, or when someone else judges us, it has everything to do with them and nothing to do with us, right? So if you go back to your thoughts about your circumstances is what creates your reality. That's how, like, if that wasn't true, nobody would have two different opinions of you, right? It's their thoughts are what creates their thoughts about you. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them, the lens that they see life through, and their circumstances that they've been through. And so I think just understanding that has helped me break through the fear of judgment a lot. And I'm still, everybody, I think, to some degree, you don't want to be judged, right? But I think it's just realizing that it has nothing to do with you, and so you better just keep going. And you're not living your life for them. You're living your life for you. At the end of the day, they're not affected by your decision, so you might as well do what you want.
Yeah, and it's like another thing that's really powerful that I do is I think of, in 3 years from now or 5 years from now, am I going to give a crap what people think or said, or this moment of failure or rejection right now? No, it's just temporary. So just really focus on who you want to be in 3 years, 5 years from now, how that person would show up in this moment, and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have to remind myself that daily when I post these things too. I just think, would I be worried about this if I was helping 1 million people? If I was helping 100,000 people, would I care what Sally said over here? No. So I'm not going to care about it now.
Powerful. I love it. Any final takeaways, final things you want to the audience to get from this interview, or things that you just want to recap, things that were super important in this interview that you're like, people, if you just get this and do this, you will have a great life?
I think just a few things. Take action before you're ready.
Yeah.
Decide what it is you want and how to be the person that shows up on that. However, I'm now stumbling over my words, but whatever is the goal that you want to achieve, how can you show up to get there? And I think just keep going is the other thing. If you fall off the wagon, it doesn't matter. You just get back up and keep going. Don't judge yourself for it. You're human. Don't judge yourself for the thoughts that you have. You're human.
Yeah.
But then realize that you can create your own reality and wake up every day as this is a new opportunity. This is a clean slate,
Right.
and this is the day for the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that would be my main.
That's awesome. I love it. Rachel, this is super valuable. Our audience definitely wants to know how they can stay connected with you. What's their next steps? Where can they find you? And what can they be excited to see from you in the future?
Absolutely. So right now I'm growing my blog. You can, reach out to me on Instagram. It's my first and last name, just at Rachel Gibler, Gibler, just one B. And yeah, DM me, connect with me, and I get back to every single person. So if you listened to me or found me through Chris's podcast, please DM me. I would absolutely love it. And I'm probably going to be launching an actual coaching biz here. So definitely stay tuned for that, and just for a lot of more mindset information and motivational posts.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to connect with you guys.
Awesome. Rachel, you're a superstar. Thank you so much for being on today and just like sharing your heart, like your heart to empower people with their identity, going through transitions, going through suffering, times of loss. Like, I really get that you're here just to serve, just to show up and share what's worked for you, what's really made the difference for you. So I acknowledge you for showing up. I acknowledge you for making that difference, and congratulations on all the growth that you've done, all of the business opportunities that you've invested yourself into to create an amazing life for you, for your family, and for the people who matter most to you, and everyone who wants to continue their journey with you. And everyone who's listening right now, definitely stay connected with Rachel. Big things coming from this one. I can feel it. I can sense it. And Rachel, thanks so much for being on today. You rock. I appreciate you.
Awesome, Chris. This has just been an incredible time. I'm so excited to be here with you, and just thank you so much for this opportunity. This was great.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Rachel. We'll see you soon, okay?
All right, sounds good.
All right, take care.